First and foremost, those of you that don't know me, my name is Geha Gonthier, and I'm an acupuncturist here in Edmonton. I've lived all over the world. It's been quite a privilege, the different places that my life has brought me. And I never thought that I would end up in Edmonton, but I have, and it's been hugely delightful to do that, because I find this is one of those really unusual places where on the surface it's not that, shall we say, pretty. You know, I lived on Maui, I lived in Big Sur, I grew up in Vienna, I lived in Santa Fe, I lived in all these different quite magical places. So coming to Edmonton was like, wow, this is where my spirit tells me I'm to go. Really? Why, right? Because I just lived 10 years in Maui, growing my own food, living by the ocean, in a communal setting, in a yurt, swimming in the ocean every day, climbing rocks, growing, so Edmonton? So people still ask me that, and it took me a few years before I realized that the preciousness of being here was really to give myself an opportunity to go beyond all the different comforts that you had, the physical comforts, and dive deep into myself, dive deep into my soul, deep into my heart. And when we look at the subject of what we're talking about today, the archetypes in the body, it is about diving deeper. When we talk about the body, of course, we all know we have a physical body, right? This physical body that is sitting here right now. And in this physical body, we experience wellness, we experience unwellness, we experience, or actually take mostly for granted a lot of the times, health, but we experience disease. We experience pain, or we experience relief. And this is this body that we hang out in most of the time. Now, one of the things that I'm also very interested in, and have been very interested in from the very beginning of my life for some kind of strange reason, is quantum physics. Now, I'm not interested in physics at all, but there's something about quantum physics, there's something about the field of quantum physics that I've always found very fascinating. So as I was exploring different healing options in my life, because as a child I grew up very, very sick, very, very sick. The doctors did not think that I was going to make it beyond maybe a teenager, right? So 60 years later, and I'm going, you know what? I'm doing pretty good. I might make it another 60. We'll see. Because one of my teachers actually is that old and still practices acupuncture, right? So there are those kinds of options that we have if we know how to work with our bodies. And so when we talk about the bodies, we are not just talking about the physical body. We're also talking about what in quantum physics we identify as the vital body. Do you, right here. Good. So the vital body, what is the vital body? The vital body is not something that is necessarily visible to the naked eye, but it is visible in Kirlian photography. Anybody ever heard of Kirlian photography? Yes? So Kirlian photography is a kind of photography that actually has the potential to take a colored picture of the energetics of the body. We might call it aura. It's not quite the same thing. And just like in Ayurvedic medicine or in yoga, we talk about the different kinds of bodies, right? In quantum physics, they have identified what's called the vital body. And what's interesting about the vital body, and what's really interesting how the vital body and the energetic body that we talk about in acupuncture, and also the body of chi, and also the different bodies that we talk about in yoga, what brings them together is that they are invisible, but it is there where healing happens. So this, what's called morphogenetic field, is around the body and is around also all of our organs. So when healing happens, it is in the vital body that healing truly has to happen in order to manifest in the physical body. Now that is a huge statement, right? Because that means that if we treat the body, but we have no influence over what's called the vital body, then it doesn't really work. And I'm sure you've also noticed it maybe within yourself or maybe with other people that you know, where you go, I have a headache, but even if I take a Tylenol, it doesn't work, even though it's supposed to, right? Yeah. And I have, that just the other day, one of my patients told me that her mother has brain cancer. And she didn't want to do chemo for it at all. I think she maybe was ready to pass on, right? But for her family, she decided to go do chemo. And after 2 rounds of complete chemo, which was, and everybody said, oh, it's going to be no problem. It's going to be so easy. It's going to be just like a breeze, right? The first one had no effect whatsoever. The second one had no effect whatsoever. So the question is, why didn't it? Why can something that has such an incredibly invasive effect on the human body have absolutely no effect? And the way that quantum physics explains that is because there is no influence on the vital body, on this energetic field that we carry around us and around our organ systems. And that is also where placebo comes in, right? There is, in Western medicine, we are very concerned always about these tests, placebo-controlled, double placebo-controlled studies. And of course there's value in them. However, even when you have these studies, sometimes there will be an effect on a sugar pill just as much as there's going to be effect on the drug that is being tested. And the reason for that is that, again, that the vital body has not been addressed, and if people believe that this is going to help them, aka placebo, something actually does happen and you're being healed. Now, what is the awesomeness about realizing that? What is the awesomeness about realizing that? What do you think? That's right. That's right. There is power that is given back to us. I can put my intention into an area of concern and can see, how does it help me? How does my intention help me get better? And that's huge, right? Because what we really ideally want is we want our bodies to be able to heal themselves. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't it be awesome if we all really tapped into the self-healing capacities of our bodies? That would just be fabulous, right? So now, when we've talked about the vital body and we talked about the physical body. What holds those two together? What holds those two together is consciousness. And if you ever want to follow a little bit of the work when it comes to quantum physics, there is a teacher at Harvard Amrit Goswami, very sweet old man. I think he's retired now, but he has spoken a lot about this and about the vital body and about consciousness and how consciousness moves through the body. So if you want to read up a little bit more about that or see any videos about that, you can Google that. In the meantime, let me just say that as consciousness connects those two, the way that it connects those two is through the different channels that run through the body. Now, when we say channels that run through the body, what does that mean, right? Well, one channel that is actually very apparent in the physical body is the lymph system, right? Everybody knows what the lymph system is, right? So this lymph system is basically this drainage system, this connective drainage system over the entire body. It begins in our gut and it is everywhere, all the way up to the brain. And you know, when you study Ayurvedic medicine, in Ayurveda, the first thing that you learn is you learn about Rasa. Rasa is the lymph. That's the first thing that you learn. Because like in every good infrastructure, if you build a house, if you build anything, the first thing that you need to know is, what do I do with the garbage? What do I do with the water that's running off from the shower? What do I do with the stuff that comes from the toilet, right? So, and with our bodies, it's exactly the same thing. The first thing for us to know about when we are in the body is, how do I cleanse the body so that all the good stuff that I give it also has some place to go. It's not being stagnated, right? So, and you know, those of you that are a little bit familiar with Ayurvedic medicine, you know that in Ayurveda, we have all these amazing treatments with oil. Why is that? Because lymph responds to oil. One of the things about lymph is, unlike blood, blood is being pumped by the heart, right? So as long as the heart is pumping, the blood is pumping. It might not be pumping completely efficiently, it might not be ideal, but it is pumping. Lymph, much harder, because what makes lymph move? Lymph is being moved by movement, right? So when we sweat, when we move, that is how lymph is being moved. Lymph is also being moved by breathing, deep breathing. That's why pranayama is such an important aspect of yoga. And so this lymph system is what we want to always keep clean and moving. And oil helps to bring movement into the lymph. Oil on the skin, oil internally, oil on the head, on the skull, will help to pull the toxins out of the lymph system, which is really, really interesting, isn't it? One interesting thing is also, you know, when I first learned anatomy, and that was quite a few years ago, I still was taught that the lymph system stops here. I was taught that lymph only goes, you know, through the body and that's it. Whereas the Ayurveda always insisted that one of the most important aspects of the lymph runs right through the head. And as I found out, lymph doesn't have its own vessels in the head anymore because it just doesn't fit, there's too much stuff. But lymph runs like on the inside of the veins in this small little sheath inside. Isn't that interesting, right? So now they found that out just a few years ago, and now, of course, the conversation is all about, well, how do we make these things move so that things don't get stagnated, right? So, and which brings me actually to one of the best things that one can do in order to cleanse the lymph, in order to help move the lymph, is, you know, for us, before we wash our hair, you take a little bit of oil and you massage. It's like a mohawk. The most concentration of lymph in the head, it's like a mohawk that runs through right the center, about an inch on either side. Yeah. So this ancient tradition of head massage, this deep, oily head massage, right? You know, there's not a lot of people that do that, and you know, it's very inconvenient. You have to wash your hair and da 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 da. However, if you just integrate just on a small level into your life, every time before you wash your hair, you take 10 minutes and you massage some oil into that mohawk, and then, you know, maybe wrap a towel around it or whatever, do anything else for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you go and wash your hair. It's already a little bit towards moving your lymph. Now, and why, of course, is moving your lymph so important is because it takes all the toxins out of the body. Right? So this is the one channel that we're talking about. The other channel that we're talking about is that consciousness moves through are the channels that we recognized in Oriental medicine. And there are 12 what we call meridians. But meridians is only partially true. Channel is a much better word because, as they have discovered, it is actually a channel inside of the body that runs parallel. You know, and you know how they've discovered that? It's because they realized when you do surgery, for instance, on the thyroid, right? There's a place that you come in right through here, and it's literally a space that you can move in that goes all the way to the thyroid, and that is then where you can then do your operation, whatever operation it is that you're doing. And they realized, wow, you know, this is the same thing as the lung channel. This is exactly the trajectory of the lung channel that we've treated in Chinese medicine for 5,000 years. Duh. So then people started exploring that, right? Why is it that you can do surgery, for instance, on the uterus, and you can go into highly vascular areas and you find these spaces that are literally spaces. It's not just a bloody mass, it's spaces. And they realized, oh, this is the liver channel. Interesting. So there's a lot of things that have been known and they have been around for a long, long time. So now when we talk about the channels of Oriental medicine, there are, like I had said before, there are 12 major channels, but what we are going to look at today is we're going to look at 5 of those channels. Why 5? Actually, Western medicine and Oriental medicine began with observing nature. And as we observed nature, we realized the relationships within nature. We began to project it onto the human body. We realized that those parts of nature are also in one way or another represented in the human body. And Western medicine over time has become more linear in its approach. However, Eastern medicine has been diving even deeper into that relationship of the elements and the human body. And one of the things that is so fascinating when you look at some of the alchemical charts of ancient China is they have, you know, everything from peaches and birds and snakes and turtles and enlightened beings and mountains and cliffs and trees. Everything is in one of those charts. Now, obviously, in order to get to all of this would be much, much, much too long. However, what we're going to address today, what we're going to look at today is the 5 main elements in your body. And they correspond to the 5 main yin organs in the body. What makes a yin organ is that it is full. It is not empty like the intestines, where things are supposed to move through. It is not empty like the stomach, where things are supposed to move through. It is full.